Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone? This is the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Bobin. The producer is not here with me tonight, so I'm running the show solo tonight. I am trying to make sure the link is set up with our guest tonight, Steve. We switched our streaming platform, so we now are using a different one, so we're trying to make sure we got that set up, squared away. If this is your first time tuning in the show, thank you for tuning in. Where have you been? I mean, come on. It's a fun show. Anyways, we do a live show Monday through Wednesday, and each week we dedicate 3 days to spending a new oh, sorry there. I got distracted there. Each week is a new week. We cover a new state. This week we're covering Maine, and we have an awesome guest for tonight. Make sure it checks out our website. No, I lost where I was going with that. Anyways. You know, heck with this. I was going to go with that. Anyways. I'm looking forward for tonight's show. I'm excited about it. Like I said, we're in Maine. The only thing I do ask from the listener of the audience is to put a quarter in the slot machine. And what I mean by that is help share the show. We're constantly dealing with shadow banning and this cancel culture and hunting. It's just a dying culture, a dying sport, and we're trying to bring awareness to it, and we can't do it without your help, your support. So we ask that you put a quarter in metaphorically and help share the show. But enough of that. Tonight is Monday, May 6th for our start to Maine, and it's episode 63. Finally, we're on episode 63. Last week we had some problems with episode 63, so it seemed like it was being a curse, but tonight we broke the curse. Anyways, looking forward to it. So with further ado, let's give a warm welcome for Steve. Hey, Steve.
Hi, Brett.
Ah, man. You have a good day?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Making sure we get all the links and stuff squared away. I apologize. Like I said, we switched our streaming platform. It was kind of like at the last second. So
yeah, no problem.
But for everyone that's new, it's wanting to know a little about you. Can you give a little background about yourself?
Well, my name's Steve Tweedie. I'm 45 years old. I'm a registered Maine guide. I live in Haynesville, Maine, which is a population of about 100. I grew up hunting and fishing. As far as the deer hunting goes, I played basketball through college, so I didn't start like really seriously deer hunting until after college, so in my early 20s. And then I started hunting northern Maine, which is a completely different animal than what most people are used to when it comes to whitetail hunting.
When I think of Maine, the first thing I think of is Northwoods Law.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my favorite show growing up in high school, well, out of high school in the college days, and that really wanted me to get into a conservation officer.
Yeah. Actually, a girl I graduated with, her father, I was good friends with her. Her father was the local game warden. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We'd be hanging out at her house there, and he'd show up in the night, and I'd beg him to take the fake deer out and go out with him. But yeah, he come in one night there, and he says, "Steve, you ready to go?" I says, "Yeah." "What are we doing?" He says, "Get in the truck." So I get in, and we headed down the road. Then he told me that someone hit a moose, so I had to help him load that in the back of the truck, which wasn't much fun. But
I bet that was heavy as crap.
Oh yeah, big animal.
Man, we talked earlier. The one guy that stood out to me the most was it was Chris. I think we discovered who it was. Chris.
Yeah, Chris McCabe.
Yeah. Man, that guy was pretty sweet, man.
I think
Did
the
you know
girls
a
like
lot of
them
them?
too. What's that?
Did you know a lot of those game wardens up there?
No, there wasn't. Most of them were in a different area than what I was in, but you run into them at like sportsman shows or the moose drawn or events like that. They kind of I don't know. It was probably a blessing and a curse because I think a lot of them had to do a lot of PR stuff and probably didn't get to spend as much time in the field as they wanted. But
Yeah. And so you're a registered guide up there?
yep.
What's it like on the guide side of it all?
Well, back in the 70s and 80s, northern Maine was, big destination. People came from all over to come deer hunting here. But like it was about early 2000s, the coyotes really got out of control, and we had some really harsh winters, and the deer population took a big hit. So we kind of lost a lot of the deer hunters that come up. A lot of them, we're starting to, get some younger guys coming, but it seemed like the hunters just kept getting older and older. But as a guide, your busy seasons are in the fall for big game hunting would be bear and moose.
So which one was your main pickup, I guess? Which one did you get hired for the most?
Bear. Bear's big business in Maine here. So, that's probably what Maine's known for. They say we've got the biggest population of black bear in the lower 48 or east of the Mississippi, I guess now.
Oh man, that's one thing I do want to go do is some bear hunting though, black bear hunting, and Maine's that ever since I've seen that show, it's been at the top of my list to go up there and do that. Is it hard to get a tag up there? What's it like to get a tag?
No, it's an over-the-counter tag. We actually the biologists want us killing almost twice the number of bears that we harvest every year. So the getting a tag's not an issue. Basically we hunt over bait or with hounds. Like I've got a pack of bear hounds. But as dense as the woods are here, there's no opportunity for spot and stalk type things. So you're hunting over a bait barrel. Usually your shot's within 50 yards, and it will amaze you how many guys lose it when a bear comes in. Yeah.
What do you see them generally going out there with the most? A gun or a bow?
Oh, it seems to vary. Lately, it's been mostly rifle hunters. For 2 or 3 years there, it seemed like it was over 50% were bow hunters. But we as a guide, we always recommend a rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bow guy, so I'm generally.
And I mean, they're not a tough animal to kill, but the kill zone, you got to hit them back a little further than you used to, like on a whitetail. And it's if you push too far forward, they've got like an arm. Their shoulders are too tough. They can't. I don't care what you got for the broadhead. It's not going to go through their shoulder blade. So that's what we run into the most. You go right over and gotta have a luminoc, and the arrow will be laying right next to the barrel there, and you pick it up, and the broadhead's just like over sideways like that, blood like halfway up it.
Do you see a lot of guys that bring their bow? They generally try to aim right for the shoulder. They don't try to aim for the midsection.
Oh, I mean, the reason I get into bear hunting was to give me that feeling like it was when you were a kid. The first time a deer walked out in front of you, you were going to shoot. I mean, it just gives you all that excitement. I mean, you're hyperventilating, your heart's pounding out of your chest because I mean it's close. I mean, it's like, whoa, there's a bear right there in front of you. So, I can kind of understand it, but
Yeah.
The other thing is, I mean, there's a lot of woods up here. Like a lot of the bear hunting is done in the North Maine woods, which I told you is 3.5 million acres of woods and, you know, some woods roads getting you around a little bit through there. But there's no pavement from Route 11 to the Quebec border, which is, I think it's over 50 miles through there. So it's a big patch of woods. So a lot of these guys, you know, they come up from wherever, you know, and, you know, some of these camps, you drive a half hour into the woods, you show up at this camp, generators, gas lights, and all that stuff. And, you know, you feed them lunch, pack them in your truck, drive another hour out through the woods, walk them into a tree stand and say, all right, I got 3 other guys to pick up, so I'll get you sometime after dark. You know, you just see the look of fear in their eyes.
Man, being a guide, though, it seems like it would be a very stressful job, but a fun stress, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's some days are more fun than others, that's for sure.
What can you describe what what a quote unquote bad hunter that you had to help guide out there would be like? Like one that would just kind of be like, man, he's just kind of getting under my nerves. I'm trying to teach him or trying to show him the right way, but he thinks he's this and that. Do you run into types of people like that?
Really,
Not very often.
Okay, so like a bear hunt is probably one of the cheaper guided hunts you're gonna do or get. Okay, so a lot of people that are just getting into hunting, you know, they watch some of these videos of these guys hunting these remote places in Canada that only get hunted once every 10 years, where you know, the guides are shooing away small bears, trying to get big bears to come to the bait, and they show up. And I mean, bears are smart. We've hunted them for a long time. And, you know, the big ones, especially, they've been shot at, they've been run by hounds. They know the deal. So they come into a bait site. If something, you know, something's off, if you're moving around. The big thing now is, even though there's no cell phone reception out in the North Maine woods, is the guys playing games on their phones, you know, and it, like, you know, just before dark, that's when the bears come in and your face is all lit up because you're playing Angry Birds or whatever, looking up at the barrel every once in a while. But, you know, I've got pictures of, we had a picture of, there was a group that came and there was one guy that didn't get a bear. And we tried everything. I mean, we moved him around. He came with his 2 sons and another kid. So the 3 kids all got bears. We moved this guy around, couldn't figure out what was going on. So Sundays, you can't hunt in Maine on Sundays. So that's our turnover day, you know. So guys leave in the morning and, you know, we're out running around while the cabins are getting cleaned, getting sites baited and checking, you know, new sites, seeing what's getting hit or whatnot, looking at cameras. And we were baiting the site, and the guide that had this one guy was putting the bait in. I was looking at the camera, and I said, Ernie, I said, didn't you have that guy sitting here last night? He's like, yeah, why? I said, look at this. There's 3 pictures of a bear. His bear walked up to the barrel, sat down. You could see him like looking up where the tree stand was, and then just turned around and walked away. And I'm like, well, did he see a bear? And he's like, he said he didn't. He says, I don't think he would have lied to me. And I said, I bet he was up there sleeping. I said, the bear looked up at him and then walked off, because the bear came back 10 minutes after dark. So, I mean, the bear was just waiting out there for him to leave. He got down out of the stand, went, then the bear came right in and got to the bait. So,
what the heck, man?
Yeah, they're a smart animal.
First up, how much is it for a bear hunt out there? How much is that?
Oh, it all depends. You know, if you want to stay in a hotel and feed yourself, I think you can probably find a hunt for under $1,000. You know, if you want a meal plan and all that, you know, you're looking at, I don't know, $2,500 to $4,000, depending on what outfit you choose, type of thing. But you know, for $2,500, you can get a pretty good quality bear hunt.
If I'm spending $2,500, my phone is going to be buried deep in my backpack. It's not going to be anywhere near me.
Well, we've had guys come in on the first night just irate because they didn't see a bear the first night and want to change stands and everything else. It's crazy.
I mean, I've heard some other stories from my friends, and they have friends that are guides out like west and stuff, and they've said those type of things. I'm like, are you kidding? First off, my wife would kill me if I spent that much money on a guided hunt. And two, if she found out that I'm playing freaking Angry Birds or Solitaire on my phone and not trying to get some meat for the family, I'm definitely going to hear it at that point. I guess you really aren't taking that hunt seriously. You don't really care about dishing out that money, really.
No, it's, and I don't know. A lot of guys, they say 100% success rate, which means 100% opportunity or whatever. But they're lying if they say that because, you always get that one guy in a group, the guy that couldn't catch clap in the whorehouse, he's not going to see one, he's just... It's just not going to happen.
Oh my gosh. To each their own, I guess. If you want to do that and just sit in your phone, I guess, whatever. But so let's dive into the whitetails out there.
Yeah. So
what's it like out there for just the whitetails? And I mean, that's been deep. You think of Maine, my first thought of that's deep, deep woods.
Northern Maine is, yeah. Southern part of the state, you get in outside we really don't have much for cities, but there's a lot of farm ground or old farmland, and like I said, the southern part of the state, there's a lot more deer. It's just it's a lot. Up here is all private land too, but it's huge tracts of timber company land. They allow access, so I mean you can roam as much as you want to roam. You never see every bit of woods that you can hunt up here. So that's the big thing is to come up here and hunt. You can't be scared of the woods. You got to be comfortable. And today with like Onyx and GPSs, I mean, when I started out, you took a compass and we looked at topo maps, so you knew that where the river or brook or whatever was, and you kind of navigated that way. But you can walk in the woods and you're not going to see anybody. You're not going to see a house, and there's just a lot of woods, and a lot of guys get intimidated by it. And you're gonna have to cover ground because there's very low deer density here. 1 to 3 deer per square mile, like I was saying, but that just means there's a lot of woods that don't have deer. So you got to spend the time to find the areas that are holding deer and focus on those places. Because, I mean, you could come up, find a nice little ridge to sit on, but, there may not be a deer within a mile of you, the whole week. Yeah. So.
There was a comment here. Steven wrote, there's no deer in Haynesville. Where's that at?
Haynesville?
Yeah.
That's where I live. He's my neighbor.
Oh. Well, there we go. We know there's no deer there.
Yeah. His son killed a real nice buck this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, congratulations to him.
Yeah. He would have been one of the top 10 in the state if he'd sent in his card.
Was that one thing, was that something where he just wasn't mainly concerned about, or was it just something he forgot to do?
Oh, he probably doesn't care about it. There's lots of guys. Like I said, the big goal up here is to shoot a buck that dresses out over 200 pounds. And, you send in, you get a big bucks patch and get your name in the Maine Sportsman and all that. They do in February, they do the big buck episode. They'll put pictures of the top 10 heaviest buck shot in the state, and they'll list everybody's name that killed one and how much their buck weighed.
Oh, wow. I remember you and I talking about that when we talked last week. It seems like antler size is not a big concern out there. I'm sure everyone wants to get that big deer, obviously, but the main goal is the big weighted deer.
Yep.
What was the score then on his deer?
His weighed 242, I think.
Dressed or
Dressed, yeah, that's dressed weight.
dang?
Yeah,
That's a deer, man.
yeah. Mine was 237, and my buddy Aaron there, we went out. He killed his the first week. We had about an inch of snow, inch or two of snow there the first Tuesday of the season, and he tracked one down that went 230.
So deer out there can get pretty freaking heavy out there then.
Yeah, they get over 5 years old. They should be over 200 pounds.
Well, real quick, because you mentioned something earlier that I want to ask real quick, but what's the antler size then? If you're mainly concerned about the weight, not necessarily the antler size then.
So it's a lot of 8-pointers up here. Like I'll show you, the one I killed this year is probably the best rack I've killed. The taxidermist has it, but 2 years ago I shot this one. It's just I don't know if it's
Well, that's a nice one.
yeah, he's got a broken side here, but
Okay.
oh, there it is.
So is that a typical size rack then out there?
Yeah, you're gonna shoot a lot of 8s, wiry racks. Aaron's his was real wide. It just kept going out and out. A real unique rack, but yeah, you're gonna get a lot of 8-pointers, 7 points, 9 points, that type of thing here.
So you're trying to, so on the e-scouting, you said you're trying to find where those pockets at mainly. So what are you trying to look for if you're e-scouting? And if you've never been out there and you're trying to look on Onyx or Spartan Forge, whatever, what are you looking at online before you even go out into the woods?
You want to look at an area that's been cut in the last couple of years. It's got a mix of hardwood, softwood, and there's water everywhere here. So there's going to be water somewhere close by. So, during deer season, if we get a lot of snow late, our deer up here yard up. I don't know if you know what that. The deer they gather up in large groups in these cedar swamps, and they live together for the winter. So they actually have migration trails. I mean, they will travel miles to get to these deer yards. And if you know where they're, know some of these trails, and you got one of those years where there's snow, then you could sit and wait. But typically we wait for snow. Tracking's a big thing here. You find a big buck track and you start following it.
I know one thing I do here in Michigan that I started years ago, and it's really helped my hunting, is to winter track in the off season. So it sounds like you kind of do the same thing out there.
Yep. See, our bucks, they roam a long ways because, like I said, these groups of does, they're in pockets and they're spread out. I mean, you get on a buck track, I mean, you might only be an hour or two behind him, but if he's on a mission, if he's just looking for does, then, you may go 10, 15 miles course of the day, make a huge loop, but he will show you where the deer are. You'll find out where the does are hanging out. And, a lot of times if you can't find a big buck track, but you see a smaller buck track, you follow that buck track for a while, they take you into some pockets of does, and sooner or later you're going to come across the big buck track. And it's just a matter of whether or not it's fresh enough to get caught up to them. So, yeah, it's, we're looking at tracks in the snow to judge our deer. A lot of times, you get following them and you see how they're walking around brush or through trees, and you can see how big, if they got a giant rack or not, because they'll go around stuff if they're going to get tangled up or not. And, if they get feeding, you'll see, the tines hitting the snow. So that can give you an idea too. But, you're looking for that big mature track. And, once you get in kill mode and get on it, you catch up to him, and he's as big as you think he is, you're going to kill him, whether he's got, just two main beams coming out or what.
So with Not a lot. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of ag out there. Then, correct? Is what you said?
No, a lot of what?
Ag, like a lot crop
No,
field.
not where I am. It's commercial forest here. Yeah.
So what are they mainly feeding on if they're getting that heavy?
Well, a lot of it's genetics. I mean, we're at the northern kind of boundary of the whitetail habitat here. So over the years, only the strongest genetics have survived. So I mean, they're big, heavy coated deer. I think that's kind of what everybody's kind of agreed to.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a lot of browse. Like I said, old man's beard. It's a moss that grows on dead trees here. They eat leaves and buds and mushrooms, ferns. I mean, along the edges of the woods roads, there'll be clover and stuff, or clover will grow up in the, some of the more open areas where they cut. They'll eat that. But like I said, you can't. This isn't like you set up bedding area here, feeding area, over here. You can't do that. They'll wander, and wherever they wind up, they'll find a place to lay down if they want to lay down. So it's
So my hunting style is here in Michigan. I try to find those travel corridors between bedding and a watering source or a food source. And I try to find a good little pocket, little small area, and try to find like a little opening as best I can. So it doesn't sound like that type of style would work out there. I have to basically adapt to a different style of hunting or
yeah. So the rule of thumb up here is 3 days. If you find a spot, you a lot of buck sign, you think that buck's coming through there, you sit there for 3 days. If you don't see him, you go sit somewhere else for 3 days. But I mean, there's guys that if you're looking at topography, I mean, if you find where there's does and you're hanging out there, I mean, once the rut's on, the bucks are going to be cruising. They're looking for does. If you're looking for a place to sit, because a lot of guys, they're still hunting, when there's no snow, they'll find a spot to sit for a little while or whatever. But you want to find a funnel point, something like up here. We got a lot of brooks and streams and dead waters and stuff. Well, with these dead waters, a lot of times you'll find dead water will end, and then the stream will narrow right up, real narrow, and then go into another dead water. Well, that little area, I mean, everything crosses there. Deer, bear, moose. I mean, you find a spot like that, you set a camera up, you'll see everything. So, you find a spot like that, and that's where you want to set up. And I mean, you sit for days and days and days and days, but sooner or later, a buck's going to come through there because he has to.
So basically, be patient.
You have to have a lot of patience. I mean, there's some YouTubers in New Hampshire. They shoot giant bucks, but I mean, they sit for days without seeing anything. I watched one of their videos. It was, I think, 7 days the guy sat in the same stand. And finally, the 7th day, he was after this one particular buck. And on the 7th day, another buck showed up, and it was like getting towards the end of it. So he shot it. And then they were talking about how, they'd sat there for 7 days, and, finally a buck had shown up. And then they heard something, they turned around, that buck they were after was coming. So just never know. You get in the right piece of woods, you get in a group of does, and there's, a hot doe or two in there. And I mean, it's just like bucks show up from everywhere. You've never seen. I mean, you may have cameras out all summer. Where'd this one come from? They just know. So, deer season's a grind up here. I mean, I'm in the woods all day, every day. So I don't get too wound up about it. I know it's going to happen. It's just, you just got to keep at it.
So, in other words, you also have to have a strong mental strength, mental will of it's going to happen. Just got to trust the process and not get discouraged in it as well.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this is a place, guys come up here to challenge themselves. The guys that come up now, they know the deal. They come up, everybody's praying for snow. They know that the odds are against them, but it's just, I don't know. It's, I don't know anything any different. I grew up here. So last year I went to New Hampshire and hunted, and, it seemed like there was millions of deer there compared to here, but,
So basically, if you can make it in Maine, you can kind of make it almost anywhere, basically.
Yeah, I was at this was years ago. I was at a sporting show, and I was talking to some outfitter, and I think it was in Illinois. And I actually knew some guys that were going out there. There was like some public land, and they were going out there to try to, they killed some bucks out there. So I got talking to this outfitter, and he's like, "Where you from?" I said, "Oh, I'm from Maine." He's like, "Oh my God, we hate you guys." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You guys can hunt." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You guys from Maine." He's like, "We had a few of you. Like, you guys will hunt."
Oh man, that's pretty cool power though behind it.
Yeah.
I gotta get up to Maine now just for that.
Like I said, I mean, these bear hunters come up, and after 3 or 4 days, I mean, you've been riding around the woods, they're running bait with you or whatever. I mean, miles, and be like, "Hey, how come we haven't seen a deer?" You'll see moose every day, but
So you said, so the deer density is very thin. Then, what's the hunters like then? Do you have a lot of hunters that hunt up there in Maine?
So
like, why? I guess my main question would be then, why is the number so low of deer density then?
It's
just because the way it is.
Talking about how the deer yard up together in the wintertime. It's not a matter of them not having enough feed to support a larger population in the summer. It's our population's based on how many can survive through the winters. So that's the limiting factor. So if we get a lot of snow, like now we got coyotes, since the early 80s, the coyotes come in. You get a lot of snow, these deer are all yarded up together. So a pack of coyotes can, they can really put a hurt on some deer. I mean, we used to have a snaring program where guys would get paid to go into the deer yards in the winter and snare coyotes. You take 100, 150 coyotes out of a deer yard in the winter, then you save a lot of deer. But, the lynx became a problem. That was, became federally protected. So the snaring programs went away. All the trapping laws became much more difficult. There's just so much overregulation with trapping coyotes now. The big thing now, guys have figured out the way to kill coyotes is with hounds in the winter. You go in and a good pack of hounds, you can really kill some coyotes with them.
Well, that's good. Taking care of the coyotes right out there to help with the deer herd. I mean, I kind of picture Maine kind of like the UP version locally. I mean, it's very thick up there, and it's a very harsh winter. Yeah. So I picture the UP kind of like Maine. That's how I.
And you got wolves up there now.
Yeah, we got wolves up there.
Yeah,
but don't
that's the guys I met from Michigan. They say that Maine's very similar to the UP, and they said it's the deer herds, thinner than, I don't know, I guess. You guys can shoot a fair number of deer during the season if you want, right?
Yeah, we can shoot 2 bucks and then some does.
Yeah. So, I'd say Maine's probably a lot like the UP, probably less deer.
How many tags are you allowed then out there in Maine?
So we're allowed to kill 1 buck. And southern Maine, they give out all kinds of doe tags, so you could kill, multiple does in southern Maine now. But like in, the area I'm in, they give out 25 doe permits for the season, which isn't a lot. So I haven't ever been drawn for one.
Oh, you got to be drawn.
Yeah, it's lottery. Yeah.
Oh, that makes it even harder.
Yeah.
Man, but everyone's allowed at least one tag for a buck.
Yeah. You buy your big game license, you get a buck tag.
But when it comes to doe in like the northern part, you have to be drawn lottery style for it.
Yeah, if that's like there's 25 here, and there's only a couple other of these northern zones that even give them out. So there's, most of the northern part, there's no doe permits at all. It's buck only.
Are you allowed to get one, if you get drawn for a lottery tag up the north part of Maine, can you also get tags down south?
No. Yes, you could get a doe tag down south, but you can only kill one buck unless you go to like an expanded archery zone around one of the urban areas.
I was reading something about that, and I had a question about that. So obviously you can only get the one buck, but the question was more of, so if you want some extra doe tags, you can get some of the tags down south. And if you really want to try and get something up north, you can get a lottery number, though, and get picked, maybe. Or is it you got either enter the lottery or you get the doe tags down south?
I'm trying to think how the moose lottery, I just did that, and you put in preference zones is how you do your moose lottery. And I almost think it's the same way with the deer. So I think you can put in for multiple
areas
zones for doe permits. So if you don't get drawn for a northern zone, you can get drawn for a southern zone. But like now, like these southern zones, they'll have extra doe tags that you can purchase online. So if you're not picky and you've got friends in the southern parts of the state, there's a lot of posted land down there. That's the only issue, is access.
So it's a lot of private land down there.
What's that?
It's a lot of private land down south.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty much all private land. We have some state land, but most people, the way it works in Maine is if the land isn't posted, you can legally go and hunt on it. So, like I said, up here, there's just, and the guys that like to track, you need to have some real estate. You can't have like all these properties you have to worry about having permission to go across to keep following your buck. That's why, guys come up north and, if they want, go tracking and hunt for a big buck, that's where they go, because they can, you don't have to worry about going somewhere you're not supposed to be, unless you're too close to the border, I guess.
You mentioned the expanded archery season. Can you dabble into that?
Yeah. So like around Bangor, Portland, some of the bigger towns where there's, no discharge of firearms within city limits. Those areas, a lot of times, a lot of deer, a lot of, in people's yards, eating their gardens and stuff. So they made it archery only zones, and it's a special archery license you buy. So, it doesn't, like if just on your regular archery license, you kill a buck during archery season, you're all done, hang up you put your rifle away, don't even break it out, So, but, you archery hunt one of these, you can buy a buck tag, and like doe tags, I think you get 3 with a license, and then you can buy as many additional doe tags as you want after that. But yeah, they're just, they have, this road to this road, designated in certain towns and cities where it's, considered expanded archery.
Yeah. What?
Like my brother, he works for a water department in Hamden, and he's gone out right behind work. He get done work, and he's got a tree stand out back, and he go up there with his bow, and he shot a couple deer, just, But I mean, you can see, people's backyards and all that stuff. It's just,
Yeah. Am I the only one hearing that noise, or is it just me? I hear like a.
Oh, it was my old hound dog's coughing.
Oh, I'm like, am I hearing things? Or what?
That's Lady. She's sleeping on the couch over there.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So what's your hunting season like from start to beginning then? Like
All right. So our hunting season runs for 4 weeks. It ends a Saturday after Thanksgiving. So that's kind of how it works that way. So start sometimes the end of October or begin November. That's our season runs through November, and typically, I think that last week, Thanksgiving week, is our best week of hunting.
The end of Thanksgiving, you said?
Yeah, and then there's actually a week after that of muzzleloader.
I saw, though, I don't know if it was just archery, but I saw your season kind of started in September and then ended December, like September 15th and December 15th.
The archery, yeah, that's the expanded archery.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a question here. I'm going to pop it up for you. Aaron asks, what are your preferred calibers of rifles for woods hunting whitetail?
Well, I hunt with a 270. A lot of the guys up here, trackers, we like, you've seen a Remington 7600 or 760 pump rifle.
I haven't.
No, that's what that's what a lot of guys up here like. Pump Remington rifle with a peep sight. That's what I use. 30-06 is real popular.
I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know a whole lot about guns. You'd think that's weird because I was a cop for 7 years. You're a cop. You don't know much things about guns. No, I never really learned much about guns. I just know how to shoot them, and I know my handheld gun. That's it.
Well, the Remington pump isn't. I think it's kind of a Northeast type of thing.
Yeah.
And Remington. Oh, they haven't made them in years now. They've had a couple limited runs, but that's the whole, a family in Vermont, the Benoits made tracking whitetails that's probably the family that made it, really popular. And that was their preferred gun. They're fast, accurate. We shoot at running deer up here. I mean, we do everything they tell you not to do. I mean, we go to the gravel pit and we'll bounce a tire down the hill with a target in it, and that's you practice shooting. Like I said, it's thick woods up here, and you're following them. And I mean, when they take off running, that may be your only chance. So you better let some lead fly.
Oh man, that sounds like a challenge and fun all in itself, right there.
Oh yeah. We carry lots of bullets.
I had a question down as well. Deer drives. Those are illegal, correct?
Yeah. So what you can do is, if there's 3 of you hunting together, 2 guys can hunt towards your other guy. That's all you can do here. As far as drives, we can't bait deer, can't drive deer. You gotta hunt them.
I did notice. I was reading earlier that you can't hunt now on Sundays.
It's always been like that. Yeah,
It's always been like that.
Yep.
Huh.
Us, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. Although Pennsylvania now, there's a few Sundays they can hunt now, but I won't see it change in my lifetime. I don't believe it. They've tried several times.
Why is that? Do you know why you can't hunt on Sundays? Or is that a topic?
I think kind of they say the landowners need a break, or the biologists. I mean, I've heard that, if they allowed Sunday hunting, it would devastate the deer population. I've heard all kinds of reasons why, but I don't know if it started out as because Sunday was the Lord's day. You're not supposed to do anything on Sunday.
Right.
And it's just, I mean, they can't get a majority. Even the sportsmen aren't for it. I mean, I couldn't care one way or the other. I mean, like I said, I'm in the woods all day, every day. So Sunday's a good day for hunters to leave and new hunters to show up, and for me to catch up on some sleep. So
Right. From an outsider's point of view, though, it just seems like if you are working Monday through Friday and you only have the 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, to hunt,
yeah, that's
now you only have Saturday to hunt.
That sucks. I know, and I've been there. I've quit
sucks.
several jobs because of that.
Oh man.
No, I mean, yeah, if you, if your wife won't let you take vacation during deer season, you got 4 Saturdays and hopefully Thanksgiving and the Friday after Thanksgiving to hunt. So that's what you got.
Man, you have to be a skilled hunter out there in Maine, because it sounds like you just have everything going against you, really.
Oh yeah, it's tough.
But I think it makes you a better hunter, though. In the long term, it forces you to pay attention. I'm a huge advocate of attention to detail, so I think that focuses on out there. You really have to pay attention to the little things out there.
Yeah, I mean, when you're tracking a deer, I mean, you're going up against a whitetail, all of his senses. I mean, up here, the good thing is, these deer haven't been, nobody's driven these deer. Some of these deer probably never run into a human during deer season. So, I did notice when I went to New Hampshire, when I would, when you get following a deer, you're not always going to surprise them. They know you're coming. So sometimes they're just standing there looking back like, what are you doing? Other times all you see is a tail going, maybe, or you just come on running tracks and like, oh, yeah, I jumped him. In New Hampshire, it seemed like, holy cow, those things, they would take off like 300 yards away from you, and they would run for miles before they would slow down. Next year when I go and I jump one, I'm just going to start running. About a half hour later, I'll start slowing down. But
come here. Oh.
But yeah, I mean, you tracking wise, you follow a buck all day. I mean, he takes you follow every step he takes during the day. So you learn what he's doing, where he's going, what he's, where he likes to lay down, what he's feeding on. After a while, you start picking up on these things, like, and you get tracking like, oh, he's feeding, he's feeding more. Now it's time to slow down because he's going to be laying down somewhere. That type of thing. Or, it's weird. I don't, when I first started doing it, it was like everything was like, oh my God, this is what he's doing. What's he doing now? Where's he going? And now it's just, I don't know. It's almost instinctual. It's just, it's easier to kill him now. I'm not jumping him and shooting at him, running all the time. I'm like, all right, he's right here somewhere. And you slow down and walk up, and he's standing there now, or he's laying down, or, maybe he does take you, but he just takes, a couple slow jumps and you get a couple good shots at him. But like you were saying, it's the patience, the concentration. There'll be days, I'll go days without seeing a deer. I know they're there, you see the sign, but you got to have that concentration, because how quick it can happen. So you spend 2.5 weeks out there hunting, and all of a sudden happens. You don't want to screw it up, so you got to stay focused and kind of into what you're doing.
And put your phone away.
Yeah.
I know we talked about some of the laws out there, but was there a law that, so for instance, for me, if I'm going out there to Maine for a guided hunt, or I'm going out there to public land hunt, is there any laws out there that I need to know before going out there? It's like, you need to really pay attention to these laws.
So like I was saying, as long as it's not posted, you're legal to hunt there. You got to be 100 yards away from a dwelling to shoot, which, anyone with common sense isn't going to, try to get that close, be that close to houses anyway. But rifle season, you have to wear 2 articles of orange. So you have to have a hat and a vest on. Bow hunting, you don't have to, wear any orange. if you kill a deer here, you have to put a transportation tag on it after the kill, like before you even, you're supposed to have it on there when you start dragging it to your truck. And we have to register a deer, so you have to go to a registered check station. But other than that, there's really not a lot of anything that I can think of that's really weird. I mean, you can't hunt with anything under a 22 mag.
You said transportation tag.
Yeah. So, well, now everything's done online, so you can get your license right online. But they used to give you transportation tags. Like if you stop, like a lot of guys will stop the Kittery Trading Post. It's like the first exit once you get into Maine off the interstate, and they'll go in and buy the license and look at the guns and stuff. But so they will give you one of those transportation tags. All you got to do is put your name, address, your license number on it, and it can be anything. So like a scrap piece of paper, anything that I usually, like, I'll put a business card. I'll take a business card and I'll just duct tape it or I always have electric tapes. I keep electric tape over the end of my barrel. I'll just wrap it around the base of the horns there and use that as my transportation tag. And once you get to the registration station, they'll do what they have to do on the computer, and then they'll put an actual plastic seal in the back leg of the deer. And once you have that, you're good. So. Yeah, I know, like some places you register them online, some places you don't have to register them at all. It's
doing day and age, you assume you can just do everything online now.
Yeah, no, not here.
Huh.
But you want to take them there anyway because you got to get them weighed for bragging rights. So
yeah, what's the heaviest that so far that you've seen?
Well, state record's 355 field dressed.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's a big animal. It's been I think three or 4 years ago they killed a 300-pounder, dressed out just over 300. Haynesville here where I live, back in 2001, I think that one was 315 that they killed here. So,
and are those? I don't want to use the word common, but are those somewhat hard to come by, easy to come by?
No, those are hard to come by. It's usually like every year they do the top 10 heaviest bucks in the state, and it 280 something. I mean, that's that would be solid number one typically.
Yeah.
You get up over 220, 230. Those are real big bucks. I mean, they're all nice bucks. I mean, you kill a mature buck up here, you've done something. So,
right.
That's what I tell guys. I mean, even you shoot a spike horn up here, you've done something. I mean, overall, the state success rate deer season, I think, is under 30%. So, it's
really,
yeah. I mean, if you go by the number of licenses issued and the number of deer killed, I mean, there's plenty of guys that buy a license every year and, go to hunting camp for a weekend and drink and play cards and, never break their rifle out. But
right.
Yeah.
Man, I really want to go up there now to, like you said, majority of the people that go up there to hunt deer is to challenge yourself. And I think Maine would be the number one place to really test your woodsman skills, your deer knowledge, and really your overall hunting skills.
Yeah, Maine is a big challenge, and I'm trying to think of that meat eater guy that came up here, and
Steve Vernella.
It wasn't Steve Vernella. It was one of the other guys there on the show that he does Mark Kenyon. What's that?
Mark Kenyon.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Is he the big whitetail guy?
Yeah, he's another one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, they got a bunch of guys there though. So
he came up, and one of the more famous guides here over in Western Maine. He gave him a little lesson on tracking and turned him loose for 3 days. And he walked away 3 days later and never saw a deer. So,
Man.
There's been other stories of, these professional hunters that have come here and hunted for a week, and,
they came up empty-handed.
Didn't see anything.
Man.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, we're getting close to the end of the show. Was there a story or a topic that you didn't get to share or we didn't get to cover tonight?
Nothing that I can think of.
Well, let me ask you this, because I forgot to ask you this. What is your favorite whitetail deer hunting story that you've had? That's going to be like, this is going to be sticking with me forever.
Like my own personal?
Yeah. Or just something that's like a story of yours that's like, you know what, this is a story I'm going to remember forever.
There's quite a few. Probably the biggest buck I've ever been on. A friend of mine, he's in Florida now. Stumpy's got to be close to 80 now. But I mean, this was when I was right out of college. He grew up in the area, hunting this area, and I latched straight onto him, because he knew where the deer were, and he knew he's killed a lot of bucks up here. So I always wanted to hunt with him, and he worked for the state, so we were getting snow. It was Thanksgiving week. We were getting snow, and he had to plow. But he said, meet me on this road at daylight. He says, we're going hunting. So he'd been up all night plowing. I met him that morning. We rode in, fresh snow. I think we come across a few moose tracks, see a couple moose on the way in, not one deer track. And on the way out, I saw the biggest deer track I've ever seen in my life. And we knew he was right in front of us too. He was headed down towards dead water on a brook. I mean, it was pretty thick and nasty down there. So Gary's plan was he was gonna make a big loop, and I was gonna track the buck. So he started off, and we had walkie-talkies, and I was standing up there just itching to go. I was 20-something, ready to get in the woods. I'm waiting for him to say okay, and he come across the track, so he was going to make another loop around. Told me to start going in, so I went in there, and I mean, I was as focused as I thought I could possibly be, knowing that buck was right there somewhere. So I started following him, and Gary got out around, and he said he figured that buck was between me and him. So I get down in by the brook, and then there's what we call a barnyard. There was just deer tracks everywhere. There'd been a group of does in there feeding. So he got messed up with all those tracks. So I had my head down, which you're not supposed to do. You got to keep your head up if you want to shoot a deer. So I had my head down. I'm trying to sort out his tracks, and I knew he was right there somewhere, and I was just walking and looking and being real slow. Then all of a sudden I hear Stumpy get on the radio. He's like, I just saw him. He's huge. So I'm like, you didn't get shot at him? No. Come down here. So I turned around, and I walked 30 yards from that buck where he was laying. And I know what he did. He waited. I walked right by him. As soon as I got by him, he turned out, and he went right back the other way. I never heard him or nothing. But he run right at Stumpy. So Gary, I got up to him. He's got telling the story. He says, yeah. He says, I heard a stick snap. He says, I knew which way he was going to be coming from. He said, I heard a stick snap. I looked up. He says, I don't know if he had 12 or 13 points. He says, but he says, it's huge. I said, yeah. I said, so why didn't I hear a shot? He says, well, he stopped, and he was kind of quartering to me. And he says, I was hoping he'd turn. I'm like, Stumpy, I've watched you shoot a deer running like nothing. I said, well, he goes, I don't know what happened. He goes, I couldn't pull the trigger. He goes, then he started running. He says, I watched him for 5 jumps. He says, so we get there. Yeah, we waited, hoping the buck would calm down. So we got going again there, and Oh geez, I went across the brook. Well, I fell off the log and I got wet trying to get across the brook. I got across the brook and I made a circle. He was watching me. I made a loop. It wasn't 50 yards. I come right around. As soon as I started back towards the brook, I said, "Oh my God." And I walked right around. And I see where he'd been standing there looking at me. He just waited. Then he went back across the other side of the brook again. So I went down there. He got past Stumpy, and things were falling apart fast at this point. Finally, we come across his brother Tim, and Tim's killed. I don't know how many giant bucks he's got. I know the biggest one he killed was 287 pounds. And I knew I was walking with Stumpy. I met up with him on the brook. I said, "I don't know." And I said, "The buck's here somewhere." And we got walking, and I see orange in the woods. I'm like, "Jesus Christ." I said, "There's another guy here." I said, "What the hell's going on?" Stumpy looks, he goes, "Oh, that's my brother. That's Tim." So we go up. Tim goes, he says, Tim had started tracking this buck like 3 miles behind us. So he got to where he see that, we get on him, and Tim kind of figured out what was going on, and he got out around, and he just missed that buck too. But he'd been hunting him all season. He'd shot at him a couple times, and I'll never forget that day, because I mean, we should have had the biggest buck I've ever seen come out of the woods that day. And I don't know why. The one that, I don't know. The ones that I don't get are the ones I remember the most,
Right. Oh my gosh. Talk about a day, man.
Oh yeah.
Did anyone end up getting that deer though? Or
no, that deer, there were so many stories about that deer getting shot at and guys' guns jamming. I mean, I don't know. The deer had 100 lives, I guess. He just died of old age, I'm sure. Not of lead poisoning.
Oh man, to be able to walk up on that deer and like out in the woods and just died of natural causes, and look, I finally got that deer.
Oh, I'm telling you, I bet you more mature bucks die of old age up here than from a bullet.
Oh man. Well, Steve, I just want to say thanks for sharing that story. Awesome story, man.
It's been fun, Brett.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. You really opened my eyes out there in Maine, and I've gotten to a point where it's like, you know what? I don't know everything yet, and see how you guys are doing up there in Maine, it makes me think I really need to get humbled again and really learn again of the hunting.
If you want to get humbled, come on up.
Exactly. I need to get up there to Maine now. Well, Steve, thanks again for coming on the show. If there's any way that people want to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
So I'm on Facebook, Steve Tweedie, or my business page, Haynesville Wood Sporting Camps. YouTube, my YouTube channel is Haynesville Woods Outdoors. Or my phone number, 207-299-6434, but text message is the best way to get a hold of me, because there's not a lot of cell service up in the areas where I am.
Oh, I've been up in the UP, so it's hard to get half of a signal up there. So I can kind of see what it's like up there for me. Yeah.
It usually, like where I am here, you got enough service, you can get a text message out, but phone conversation could be difficult.
Well, Steve, thanks for that. I'll make sure to put that stuff in the bio when this episode gets released to our podcast platforms. Again, Steve, I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for coming on the show and taking the time out of your day. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure everyone else here appreciates it as well.
Thank you, Brett.
All right. Have a good night, buddy.
You too.
Oh, man. Like I said earlier, Maine, it sounds like a state that you need to get up there and really basically restart everything that you want to learn into hunting. It's going to pay attention to the smaller details, really the real small details, and really humble yourself and really make sure that you have the mental strength to keep on with the grind and to not give up. It sounds like Maine is a challenging state to hunt, but it sounds like Steve kind of has a good foot in the ground there. So if you really need some advice, it sounds like Steve can really help you out there. We'll make sure to put his information on our podcast platforms when this gets released. But with that being said, I just want to say thank you all again for tuning in for tonight's show. Make sure to check us out at our website at whitetailadvantage.com to see any of our upcoming guests for the week. I do like to point out, if you do see, there is a comment here now. Let's see what Tyler. Sorry, Tyler. Tyler states in the comments, I went bear hunting with Steve this past year and it was amazing. My goal is to do a whitetail hunt with Steve next year. Man, Tyler, I really want to bear hunt. And here in the state of Michigan, I really want to do that at just my home state, but I really want to do that up in Maine. I mentioned earlier in the show, I was watching the Northwoods Law when it really first started off in Maine, and bear hunting was a big thing in Maine, and I really want to get up there and do that. And I just think hunting in Maine kind of really will put you the center, and it's like you really got to learn your stuff basically all over again in a way. But awesome story, awesome, Tyler, to hear that. Really hope you get that opportunity. With that also being said, Tyler, hey, if you ever want to come on the show, anyways, check us out on our website for seeing any of our upcoming guests for the week. If it does state there on it says, quotes, ask the audience, that is us saying we do not have a guest lined up for that day. That's us saying whoever is out there and wants to come on the show, you don't have to be necessarily from the state that we are covering that week. You can be from wherever, and you want to come on the show and talk about whatever, hunting stories, tactics, whatever. It's up to you if you want to come on the show. So we leave the door open for you guys as well. If we don't get a guest lined up for that day, we might just not end up having a show that day and getting prepared for the day after that. I do ask, though, like I said at the beginning of the show, to put a quarter in the slot machine. Help share the show. Really appreciate everyone that's doing that and helping the support of it. We really do appreciate it. We really support everyone out there that's helping us do that. Like I said, hunting is a dying sport, and it's sad to see that a lot of these kids now are not getting out in the woods, and we're really trying to push getting kids outside and just getting people in general outside in the woods and hunting. So we really put your core in the slot machine. I asked myself, did I put my core in the slot machine? What am I doing to help the hunting community? And we're really trying to do that. So enough of my ramble. We'll just end the show. Again, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you guys.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.